Hi everybody, Laura here for Pink Fresh Studio. Thank you so much for joining me today. I've got a fun project to share with you featuring the Rustic Floral Wreath Stencil Set along with the coordinating dies. Okay, let me just say this right up front. Pink Fresh Studio makes it easy to look good. They make it easy. Okay, starting with this Rustic Floral Stencil Set, you get 5 stencils in the set. You layer them up. You get 2 for the floral, 2 for the leafy part, and 1 for the wreathy part. And it's just a joy. It was an effortless joy. So I'm going to start with the blooms. And it's kind of hard to show this, but on the stencil, there's these little corner guides on each corner. Hard to see, but they're there. And if you have a panel trimmed to 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, you can easily just butt those corner guides up, and you know that your stencils are going to be perfectly placed every time, and then you can just get to blending. Okay, I'm going to start with probably my number one favorite. If somebody were to ask me, what's your favorite Pink Fresh Studio color? Sparkling Rose. It's just a gorgeous bubblegum pink coming right at you, and I love it. I don't know what it is about it, but I just love it. Okay, so I'm going to do the bigger blooms with a bit of the Sparkling Rose. Going a little heavier handed on one side because you know I like that gradient love. And then I'm just doing kind of just a little makeshift mask here. The blue tape is not really sticking on all that ink that I have on my stencil, but I just wanted a little makeshift mask so I could do a little apricot ink on the smaller blooms. So I'm going to do a mixture of Sparkling Rose, apricot, and lemon whip. Those are my go-to trio for warm tones. Sparkling Rose, apricot, lemon whip. Memorize it, put it in your back pocket, save it for a rainy day. Okay, so here's a little bit of the lemon whip just on the teeny little blooms on the outer corners. And I'm not putting my back into it. I'm not doing a lot of effort. Just a smooth little blend. And look at that. Okay, now I'm laying on the second stencil. By the way, the stencils are numbered. I realized that after the fact. So if you want to go in numerical order, well, then you can do that. Okay, so now this one here, I'm just going with a heavier handed. I'm still using Sparkling Rose, but I'm just putting a little extra elbow grease into it, if you will. So that'll give you that extra little detail on your blooms. And this is where you know the rubber meets the road between having a flat card and a va-va-va-voom with dimension card, where people are like, man, you know, it's like, you ever seen those stamp sets, or the multi-step stamping stamp sets that give you all that detail for the blooms, and it really looks dynamite. Well, now we got it with the stencils, and I gotta say I'm loving it, because honestly, ink blending is my favorite thing to do in the whole wide world. So now I'm doing the leaves with Fresh Pear. And again, just a light blend. And lift that up. Look at it. I mean, you could stop right there. I think this would be a beautiful wedding card. Okay, but I'm going to add a little detail with Grassy Knoll. And using that same blender. You know what? I got to tell you what, I'm hooked on the blender brushes. I'm hooked on them. I didn't think I needed them. But you know what? You start using them, and you fall in love is what you do. Okay, so I lift up the stencil, bada boom. Now here is the wreath part. Doing a little warm bluff, which is kind of a soft khaki color. I'm going for a little bit of khaki on the wreath. I guess this would be like the branches of the wreath. And not much. Little dab will do ya. And then now we have the little innards in the blooms. And I pulled out licorice. And I have one of these little tiny blender brush doodads. I think this is Picket Fence, and it really gets in the nooks and crannies. And so a little bit of licorice in the centers of the blooms. I wasn't sure. You know, I'm not one to add a lot of black on my cards, period, especially in the center of my blooms. I was nervous if it was going to work out. Happy to report, I love it. Okay, now if you want to cut it out, but you don't have to die cut it out, but if you wanna, I've got the coordinating die for the Rustic Floral Wreath. Popping that out. And now we're going to make a fantastic plaid background using the Diamond Plaid Stencil Set. Okay? Comes with 2 plaid stencils. I don't know if you know this, and I don't know if you care, but I have a deep affection for plaid patterns. I love a good plaid. Love a plaid with a floral. Always have, always will. One of these days, I'm going to get myself some plaid pillows for the couch and accent it with some floral pillows, you know? And I'm going to really, you know, people are going to come over and be like, did you get an interior designer? And I'm going to be like, no, sirree, I just picked these up at IKEA or maybe Target or maybe TJ Maxx or Home Goods. One of those discount shops. That's where you'll find me getting a deal. Okay, I like to save my money for the card making. You know what I'm saying? Okay, so second layer of the plaid stencil, I'm using Seaside blue ink, which is a fabulous blue. Again, going heavy-handed, fading it into lighter towards the center. For the green, I've got Grassy Knoll, and I pulled out one of these Alta New blender brushes, which are the Cadillac of large blender brushes. Something about the way they fit in your hand. You can cover a large amount of area with minimal effort. And then look at this two-toned gradient plaid background. I trimmed it down. I've got it on the MISTI. I'm going to stamp this Hugs from Afar, which is from the My Favorite Things to Say #2 stamp set. And I'm going to start assembling this card. I'm popping up the panel. Got a nice white border around the edge. Popping up the wreath. And to finish it off, a few of these little jewels, I believe they are, and coordinating colors, of course. And this card is finished. What do you think? Plaids and florals can't go wrong. And you know what? Hugs from Afar, that's right up my alley. I'm sending that to somebody tomorrow. In fact, I went to the post office today. They're starting to get to know me there. I almost got a smile. Not quite, but we're working on it. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for joining me. Have a wonderful day, and I will see you next time.